know you have some questions, so.
I don't have any questions. I do have quite a bit of comments to make. So first of all, let me thank staff and thank the public for all the input, and thank you, staff, for everything that you've done for the comp plan. I expressed concern at the last meeting about the future land use map changes that are being implemented through this comp plan. Currently, out in the westward expansion area, which will end up being about 20,000 acres if the landowner is able to annex in about 9,000 acres from county ag that it's intending to annex in. Currently, the two pieces of property that they already own are zoned or are designated as DRI. So there's current development orders already in place for those two pieces of land. In the future land use map, we are changing that to this new land use category that we've created through the comp plan called the master plan mixed use. The intent by the developer, by the landowner, is to then change these DRIs, get rid of them, and come to us with a proposed MPD. My concern is accepting the future land use without seeing what they're getting rid of in the current DRIs and what the new MPDs are proposing. So what I did is I went and I looked at 250 pages worth of the current DRI to see what exactly are they getting rid of, because I don't know, because I didn't read it. And I was floored at what I read. I was disgusted. I was truly sick to my stomach, because it has come to my attention that a lot of the infrastructure that the current multi-billion-dollar landowner was supposed to put in for us, taxpayers are paying for. And they are paying for it in the form of state appropriations. Let me be more clear. On page 42 of the Neoga Lakes DRI, which is one of the DRIs out there, it says Palm Coast Parkway Extension. Not later than the issuance of building permits which generate 1,400 external PM peak hour trips within the DRI, the developer shall cause to be constructed and dedicated to the city an extension of Palm Coast Parkway from US 1 to Hargrove Grade Road. This is to be called the Palm Coast Parkway Extension. And it goes into detail as to what exactly that road has to look like. It says this improvement shall include an above-grade overpass at the intersection of the FEC Railroad and a new mast arm signal at the intersection of US 1 and the Palm Coast Parkway Extension. It then goes on to further explain what exactly is going to be required for Palm Coast Extension. This is the loop road. We got $105 million in state appropriations, also known as tax dollars, to pay for something that in a previous DRI that was entered into in 2010, a private multi-billion-dollar company should have been paying for. If we go on to page 44, it says Palm Coast Parkway Extension Phase 2, not later than the issuance of building permits which generate 4,754 external PM peak hour trips within the DRI, the developer shall cause to be constructed and dedicated to this city a further extension of the Palm Coast Parkway from the project entrance at Hargrove Grave Lane to the DRI Village Center. And it goes on to provide specifics. This goes on and on and on about improvements on US 1. It affects improvements that are required in the city of Bunnell, County Road 13 for the county, all kinds of requirements. What really just put the icing on the cake for me, if we go to page 61, recreation and open space, no later than 2 years from issuance of the first residential building permit within the DRI, the developer shall commence construction of a public park of up to 29 upland acres, generally located in the area depicted on a map that it describes. And it says that the improvements to be constructed or caused to be constructed by the developer within the public park shall include, but not be limited to, a junior Olympic swimming pool, including changing rooms and restrooms, a playground, and playfields. Here we are jumping through hoops to try to get a charter amendment passed in order to enter into a public-private partnership for a lease on a sports complex that I think we should look into because of the tourism dollars that can come from it, when all along this developer, this landowner, is supposed to be paying for it. I am disturbed by this. This is corporate greed at its worst, and it has fallen on the backs of the taxpayer. And I will not stand for it. I am a staunch Republican, and this is not what our policies stand for. So, here's what I will state to staff, to the developer, to those representing the developer. You better figure out how you're going to fix this. When you come back to me, I don't expect a $105 million check to the residents of Florida, but I do expect quite a bit in infrastructure improvements. I expect to know what conservation is going to be set aside, what recreation is going to be set aside, what infrastructure we will get out of this. Because this is a 20,000 acre swath of land that is the future of our city. And this developer that is going to conduct silviculture on it until they decide to build will make plenty of money. I need to know what they're going to do for our residents. So, I don't want to hold up the comp plan because I respect too much the work that you all have done. I respect too much the hours that have been put into this up here and back there. I respect too much what the residents have done to provide their 85,000 comments or whatever it was. I respect this process too much to put off the entire comp plan transmittal. What I will say is, when it comes back from the state, before I even contemplate voting on abandoning those DRIs and accepting an MPD, I want to see exactly what the landowner is going to do. I want to know their plans. I want to know what this is being replaced with. I want to know what these DRIs are being replaced with. I want specifics. I want maps. I don't want to see, oh, well, it can all be mixed use throughout this 20,000 acres. That is not sufficient. Where are industrial parks? Because in the DRIs, there are requirements for industrial parks. In the DRI, there's requirements that certain workforce housing be constructed prior to the rest of the housing. All of the things that we've said are so important to all of us up here, they're in the current DRIs. When I ask the landowner, why do you guys want to abandon these? And they tell me, oh, well, they're not workable. Of course they're not workable for you. They're workable for us. And I don't work for the developer, I work for the residents. So, I don't want to call it a warning, but my advisement is this. I want to transmit to the state because I think this is an overall good comp plan. But please, please, hold them accountable. Our job as city council and your job as staff is to hold them accountable to this because this is the future of our city. So as we look at, and I am asking my council, trust me, reading these on my Saturday on the holiday weekend was worse than watching paint dry, okay? But please, please, please take some time and look at these. And let's make sure that the new MPDs, the new development orders that come before us, measure up to what we are supposed to be getting out of these DRIs.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Ditto.
Okay,
I
very
don't know
good.
how else to say it, but my concern, though, is if we approve this comp plan, what guarantee do we have
Whoa,
this is going to be?
hold on. Don't go so far. That's not what she just said.
Well,
You're not approving anything.
Yeah, we're not approving.
Just-
well, we're not approving
No,
it.
you're just you're transmitting it, and what
We're
the
transmitting it,
councilwoman is saying
I heard what
is
she
that she
said.
wants to hold them accountable.
I understand
Okay.
that. I heard what she said.
Okay.
I understand it, but should we even transmit this at this point?
That's your question. Okay.
That's the question.
Okay.
Because are we letting go of an opportunity to fix this? And please answer that.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. I asked the same question of staff and of legal. We had a pretty lengthy meeting about it today because I don't want us to lose our leverage. That's essentially what my concern was. Do we lose leverage over the developer and the landowner if we transmit? I think the answer to that is no, we don't, because we still have to accept the new MPD. So what staff just explained is that it gets transmitted to the state makes their comments, it comes back. At that time, if they don't have the MPD ready, we say we don't accept.
So I like your warning shot. I think it's dead on. I think it does say send a message. I know that this council will probably vote to transmit this, but I'm going to give you a no vote tonight as extra leverage, that we're serious about.
We don't have a motion yet. So.
Well, when we have a motion, it will be a no vote for me as extra leverage and as an additional warning shot that they need to clean this up and fix this before we move forward.
So if I may just explain one thing, because I was in agreement with you. The problem is it's almost like what comes first, the chicken or the egg. In order for them to put forward the MPD, we have to send the future land use map to the state.
Sure.
So again, theoretically, in a perfect world, I'm with you. But again, because we're not accepting this, I'm okay with transmitting it to the state. But I just want to make it very clear again, I won't accept it unless we see that they're giving us the hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure that they're responsible to us for.
I fully agree.
Councilman Clufus, comments?
Yeah, that's very spot on. I think it's actually in alignment with what staff presented to us last time we spoke about this, as far as direction, specifically the kind of chicken and egg situation that we got into. So I appreciate the stern warning and tough talks, but I think it's actually continuation of what we elaborated last time. So yeah, I think holding people accountable is absolute top priority. But the staff, I just want to say thank you to Ray's team, all of the time that they've put in. A tremendous amount of work has gone into this. And at this point, transmitting it then gives the council opportunity to critique it and continue this process. This is not by a long shot anywhere near the finish line, but this is just the first of many steps that need to occur.
Sure. Councilwoman, can you put this into a motion so that I can put it out to the for public comment?
I would ask that the motion come from somebody else. If somebody else wishes to make a motion,
Oh,
I don't wish to make a
Hold
motion
on.
at this
Okay,
point.
you don't, you were very fluent, and you had a list of things that, with regard to the DRI, so do you want me to have?
That can't happen yet. That has to wait until
Yes.
it comes
No, no,
back.
I just, this is the motion regarding the transmittal, and, okay. Councilman Clufus, did you wish to make a motion?
Yes, I did, absolutely. I will make a motion as read, because we cannot do the other things that were enumerated earlier.
Okay, so, you're going to have to,
Motion to approve as read.
okay, the advice is a motion would need to be made as read, as presented by staff.
Oh, okay, yeah, motion to approve as presented by staff, I'm sorry.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I will second the transmittal of the comp plan, yes.
Very good, okay. Additional discussion by City Council first. Now I will open it up for public comment. Do any members of the public wish to comment on the motion that's on the floor? The next speaker?
Dennis McDonald. I sit here and I listen to the discussion on the comp plan and certainly have read some of it online. And then, of course, it gets turned around to all the noise questions that come up about the airport. But here's a question for you that I don't understand. You can't enforce any of this, okay? Barbara doesn't have a means of doing this. You can set all the decibel levels in the world, but you can't enforce it. How do you enforce it? What mechanism does this city have to enforce a decibel level, whether it be with neighbors or whatever? Is there a process? I've never found one. I've inquired about it, and I'm told, well, if you call the sheriff's department, well, then you have to take it up with the city. And the city doesn't have any means that I know of or in the past has any way to enforce that or know what that is, to be able to put that in some type of quantified method. So I think before, you guys make all these rules about this stuff, but you guys can't get it to the ground. That's what's the problem with this city, okay? Lots of rules, but you can't get it to the ground. So I would really suggest that on this comp plan, you leave it right here in Palm Coast and have these guys work on it some more, because this is not ready for prime time. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment at this time?
Jessica Matthews. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I came here to listen and just take it in and start being more involved. And I just want to thank Councilwoman Pontieri. You're a true definition of integrity, fighting for what's right, even if it's the unpopular opinion. I am appalled at what I just learned. There's lots of head shaking going on up here, but no one else took their holiday weekend and dove into those papers as she did. We participated, my husband and I participated in the comp plan activities, and yet many of the things that we noticed, all the little dots we put on boards, all of these games we played, nothing was really in favor of this western expansion. The western expansion, it's just something that's being honestly pushed down our throats from certain individuals. We can't take care of the things that we have in place now. How many times has it been said about the water, about the lack of police presence, about the lack of fire presence, a lack of code enforcement? It is constantly being told to us, and nothing's being done about it. When we were here fighting for Seminole Woods, I'm sure you remember that just a few months ago, the developer's attorney sat right here and blamed city staff, specifically Mr. Papa, and said it was his fault that there was a mistake missed. I will tell you right now, I approached Mr. Douglas and told him that he should definitely apologize to him, and so should his lawyer, because that was not Mr. Papa's mistake. So my question is, when do we put city staff first? When do we put the residents first? Because all it seems to be is pro-development, and we're missing the residents. Again, a lot of head shaking, but she's the only one who's ever had our support.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to comment to me at this time? Seeing no one come forward, I'll come back to the dais. Final comments?
I have no final comments.
I just would like legal to explain kind of what the necessity is once the comp plan, if we decide to transmit, once it comes back, because I expressed the same concerns that we're hearing from the residents, that if we transmit, we're accepting the comp plan, but that seems to be a different process. So if you could explain that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, right now, this is viewed as a proposal that is going to be submitted, that you guys are voting on, that requires a majority vote. If you guys do decide to transmit this tonight, that pretty much says it goes towards the state and all the agencies that Mr. Tyner described. Then after that, the agencies give their comments back, and then we have 180 days from that period to decide whether we want to adopt this, make some changes. But we cannot adopt anything. Nothing is final until that second reading. This is kind of a first reading right now.
Okay, so my suggestion to state, and I would ask for city council support, not state, to staff. Ooh, it's 10:41, it's late. And I would ask for city council support on this. When this comes back from the state, this needs to be an incredibly public-heavy process.
Just bear in mind, it's up to 180 days, so just...
Right, and that's 6 months, that's plenty of time.
You could well be the only one here that you're talking to.
No, I understand that,
Okay.
but I guess what I'm looking for from my fellow council members is direction to staff, because that's what we do, we give them policy direction, as to what the public and transparency process will be when this comes back. In other words, when the MPD that these DRIs will be applied to be changed to, when those come before us, it needs to be out to the public. We need to be very transparent. We need to have multiple public hearings, in my opinion, on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, is this, is voting on an MPD quasi-judicial?
Yes.
Yes, sorry. It's late.
Okay, so unfortunately, we can't have a workshop on it, because then that's ex parte communications. We can only do 2 public hearings for the ordinance. However, the developer can do lots of public meetings and get out into the public and do proposals for what they're suggesting. They can get out to the public and tell them all about the hundreds of millions of dollars that they're going to provide in infrastructure improvements that they are currently bound to in the DRIs. So I would ask that staff please push them to do so, knowing that we up here can only have 2 public hearings for voting on that MPD. And I promise all of you, regardless of how large that proposed MPD is, I will be picking it apart with a fine-tooth comb and making sure that the residents are represented.
Councilman Clufus, any final comments before I call the vote?
Nope. The city is still in the driver's seat, and I feel like there's a lot of talk right now as if this hasn't been a very transparent and incredibly time-intensive process that we have reached a zillion people, and I hope that continues to be the case, but it's not a change of course, it's a continuation of course. But no, that's all I have to say.
Will the clerk call the vote, please?
Vice Mayor Danko,
No.
Councilmember Clufus,
Aye.
Councilmember Pontieri,
Yes.
Mayor Alfin.
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.